Gail, thank you so much for talking to me.
That's an absolute pleasure.
So let's begin with this. People who haven't read the book yet, what is it about?
Okay, I've got to get my head out of the writing that I've just been doing of my next book to answer this question and make sure I answer the right book. It's about Erica who wakes up one morning and discovers that she has lost 2 months of her life. And as she starts to ask questions, she realizes that her husband is hiding something from her. And she tries to get to the bottom of what that is. And in doing so, is she jumping to the right conclusions or is she jumping to the wrong conclusions?
Tell me where the idea came from.
This one came to me in the shower, like most of my ideas, and I'd become obsessed with the idea of writing a thriller, and I'd been thinking about that for a while, and I'd been thinking in my idea of what a thriller. I was fascinated by the idea of losing time. And I spent a lot of time coming up with a terrible plot about someone who lost time in their teens and then met someone else who lost time in their teens. And then I was going to do something around that something had happened to these people together, but I couldn't make it come together. And then suddenly in the shower one day, I thought, she didn't lose time in her teens. She lost time now. Why? And then the rest slotted into place.
So the book features bullying. Talk to me about that. Why did you want to explore that idea and how does it manifest in the book?
I didn't consciously set out to explore that idea. I think it was more a function of the plot, that I needed everything to have happened for a reason, and bullying was the underlying reason. But I also think, I'm a mother of small, well, not so small anymore, medium-sized children. And as they go into this whole social media world and online world, I think you can't help but be more aware of bullying than we've been in the past. And I think it's something any mother in any age is conscious of the problems of bullying, but I think this generation of parents, for us, it's a really big thing. So I think it's maybe something that's always playing at the back of my mind. And then it creeps into my writing. So there are 3 timelines in the book. There's now when she wakes up, there's then what actually happened in the past, and then there's another timeline before. And before is what happened to Erica in her teens. And that's where the bullying, that's where the original bullying, the bullying that people my age would think of as bullying more, happens. But in the present time, in the then timeline, the what happened in her 2 months, there's an aspect of cyberbullying that happens to her, and there's an aspect, her entire life is thrown into disarray because of the cyberbullying that turns into a type of actual bullying.
The book is also focuses a lot on friendship and what is true friendship and what is a false friendship. Is that something that you deliberately set out to explore?
It's something that I seem to keep coming back to. I mean, the book I'm writing at the moment, the working title is The Friendship. And it seems to be something that I'm really drawn to, this women's friendships and exactly what you say. What are the real ones? What are the false ones? And can we trust our friends? I think when I wrote The Park, that was a big part of The Park. And that was when I was in early motherhood, where suddenly your friendships become so important. Like your friendships almost become your most important relationship, because these are the people going through what you're going through, who are there to support you in a day-to-day way, the only people who really understand, to be blunt, how awful early motherhood is are the other young mothers doing it with you. And I became fascinated with that who can you trust, who can't you trust, and you trust your friends quite completely. You tell them all the terrible things going on with you, and what happens when that backfires. And that's something I've actually been thinking about it in my writing now. Why do I keep coming back to this? Because I don't have terrible experiences of my own, of friends bullying me or attacking me or any of the things that happen to people in my books, but it's something I do keep returning to.
Speaking of trust, there's a lack of trust between Erica and her husband, Kenneth. Do you think, without giving the plot, I mean, the twist away, but do you think that things in the book might have turned out differently if there was a better trust relationship between the two?
I think that if Erica wasn't so fundamentally insecure, Erica, because of the bullying that she's experienced at high school and because of her issues about her body, and that's something as well that was very important to me. Erica's a big woman, and I did that on purpose. I wanted a heroine who I'd been challenged by someone on Twitter about one of my previous books who said, why are the fat characters always side characters, and why do we always have to say they're fat every time we refer to them? Why do we never have a fat heroine where the story has got nothing to do with her getting thin and getting happy because she got thin? And I really wanted to explore that because I think it's an important issue. So Erica's a big woman and she's an insecure woman, and I think that's the root of her lack of trust, that she can't quite believe that she's got somebody as amazing as Kenneth, and so she doesn't trust their relationship completely. And of course, that is the fatal flaw.
Tell me about, are you working on anything new at the moment?
So yeah, like I said, I'm working on a book. The working title is The Friendship, and then I've got several very exciting things. I'm going to give you some breaking news, but I've got several exciting things happening. So Kate Sidley and I have co-written a book as Katie Gail, and we've got a 3-book deal on that. So we're working on that now. The first of that series is going into editing soon. And then I've just signed a contract with Lake Union Publishing, which is an arm of Amazon Publishing, the traditional publishing arm of Amazon, for The Accident, which is the book before 2 months, and for my next book, The Friendship. So I'm under some pressure there to get The Friendship written. And then obviously from a South African point of view, that next, The Friendship, we readers wanted, I hope. I really hope.
I'm sure they do. Talk to me about your writing process. It's different for every author. So how do you come up with an idea? How do you process that and put it on paper or on the computer screen? And how does that develop for you?
So the first thing is that I'm a plotter, not a pantser. I come up with a full idea before I start writing. I don't write characters and then try and follow them. Apparently that works for some people. I need to know how my book will end before I start it, and I need to know more or less where I have to be in the middle so that I know the arc that I'm writing towards. So that's the first thing. I've tried just following characters. They are currently sitting under a tree. The tree is on fire and nobody has any clothes on, and I didn't know what to do with them next because I didn't know what was happening. So I've left. They've been there for years under that tree. I can't do it. I need a plot. I write every day when I'm writing properly. I try to write every day. At the moment with lockdown, I've been very disciplined. I'm writing about 1,000 words a day, as well as having a day job. And yeah, I mean, that's my process. I'm a big believer that the biggest trick to writing is the discipline of sitting down and writing. Bum glue, as Stephen King calls it. That's the only way the book comes out of you. You meet people who go, oh, I've got a book in me. The only way that book is going to come out of you is if you sit down and write it. There is no other process.
Absolutely. Yeah. Funnily enough, you're echoing what many writers are saying. A lot of people are just, I don't know if it's too lazy or too scared to put pen to paper or to start typing it out. But yeah, it seems to be difficult for quite a lot of people.
I think the fear is a big thing. And my advice there is always don't sit down to write a great book. Sit down to write an average book first. So, when you read a book and you like slam it closed and you think, I could have written a better book than that. That was rubbish. I could have done much better than that. Write that book. Write that book that's a little bit better than the real rubbish you've written. And use that as a learning exercise. And then after that, write your good book. So I did exactly that. I wrote a book that nobody will ever read except one editor who I needed to read it to just confirm that it was utter rubbish. And I wrote that, and in writing that, I learned that I could write it. And I think I got a lot of the rubbish ideas out of my head. And then the next book that I wrote, I now knew that I could finish a book. And now I could sit down with a proper idea, and that became my first published book, which was Marriage Vows.
Well, that seems to be a very great idea. I think, well, I hope that people take that on board. Gail, thank you so much for talking to me. I really enjoyed 2 months. I loved that juicy twist, and I'm sure other people will do the same.
People seem to love it or hate it, so apologies to those who hate it. But that's where they were going, and that's where they were going from the beginning, from the moment I sat down to write.